Hi guys, and welcome to the fourth episode of CodeBytes. In today's episode we're going to be having a quick look at something called a function in Python. Now this concept exists in many languages, the idea for a function. For example, in Java we've got something called a method which works in a very similar way, and they are, for all intent and purposes, the exact same thing. So what is a function? Well, I've created a new window here. I've saved it as functions.py, so we've got a base document to start working from. And basically what a function does is it allows us to define a set section of code that we are then able to run again and again and again. So the idea of automation is starting to come into our code a lot now. We've been able to set variables up so that we don't need to keep calling things over and over again. We don't have to type a lot over and over again, and that also simplifies the process of us changing information within the program. But what happens when we actually want to start running a section of code? In a large program such as a banking system, you're going to have different things that you need to do. For example, you might have a function which says check balance of an account. You might also have a function that says add money to an account, remove money from an account, transfer money from one account to another. And all of these things are going to be defined as functions that we can call, and then we can write something called program logic which decides when to run each of the functions. So let's just get started. It's quite a complicated idea once you start looking at it, but once you've seen how it works, it couldn't be more simple. So I'm going to just write a keyword here, def. Now def means define, and basically what this says to the Python interpreter is what we type after this is going to be a function. And we just have to give our function a name. The same way that we gave our variable a name, I can't call it print because that's already taken. However, I could call it something like print hello world, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so now I have a new function, and all its purpose is going to be is it's going to print out the words hello world. When I press enter, you see that my interpreter, my editor, has now gone to this new line. What this means is basically, as we move down through the code, all of these lines here would be part of the function. As soon as we move out of these lines, we are no longer part of the function. So this indent here says, and you can see it's kind of like a block. It's a block of code which is run whenever we call this function, and you'll see what that means in just a moment. But basically, we need to tell the interpreter what is and what isn't part of our function, what should and shouldn't be ran when we call that function, and that's how we do it. It works slightly differently in Java. I actually prefer the way that it works in Java using the C syntax, but we might look at that at another time. Basically, when something's indented, it's part of the function. And all I'm going to do here is I'm now going to just say print hello world. Okay? Now, what do you think is going to happen when I run this code? You might have said it's going to just print out the words hello world. You might have said that it won't do anything at all. And if you said this latter, then you're actually correct. Notice when I run this, nothing actually happens. The reason for this is, when I've defined a function, I've just told Python that there is a piece of code here that it needs to know about. What I haven't done is called it. I haven't told it to run the code. So before it's going to work, what I'm going to need to do is, down here, outside of the function, I'm going to write in print hello world, followed by these brackets. And what this is this is a call to this function. So when I run this line here, it's going to look at this function, it's going to see all of the code that's inside it, and it's just going to run it. So when I hit F5 now, because I've called that function, you can now see that it's printed. That's really useful because it means that I could define another function now, for example, and I could call it something like print good morning. Notice again when I press enter, it's put me inside of this indentation, and I'm just going to say print good morning. When I run this, it's still saying print hello. It's still saying hello world. Why is that? Well, here I'm still calling print hello world. I haven't changed my call to do something different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this call here to print good morning. When I do that and run it, notice how we're not printing hello world anymore because this function here isn't being ran anywhere in our program. All of these initial lines here define what is ran when the program runs. These lines of code are actually run by the interpreter. Since I've defined something here, this isn't run when the program is run. It isn't run until I call it. So I could do something here like print good morning, print hello world. Well, what's the output of this going to be? Since I've called good morning first, it's going to run that first. Then I've called hello world, and it's going to run this line of code second. So basically, effectively, this program will be the same of having this line here and this line of code here. Now, here's an interesting thing that you can do. From within a function, you can actually call another function. So here I can say print hello, print good morning, sorry. Okay, and change this back to print hello world. And what this is going to do is when I run it, since I've said print hello world, when this line of code is run, first it will print out hello world, and then I've made a call to the good morning function. The good morning function is then run as well. So this allows us to build some quite complex things into our code. I think we're going to leave it there for today. We're going to look at these certainly in a lot more detail in coming weeks, but that's just a great little introduction to what a function is and what it allows us to do. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.